What's up, everybody? This is Karak with ACG, and as always, it's my continuing mission to bring you reviews that aren't 2 minutes long or filled with sponsored bullcrap. As we all know, there are very few titles that release with such manufactured rhythm as LEGO titles, especially when big fictions can be tied into them. I mean, it's really come to the point that whenever a big movie hits the screen, many of us just expect a LEGO title to fall not far behind. So what happens here when the artistic muse is no longer there? Can LEGO, with its blistering series of releases of block-headed characters, keep pace using its own world, its own characters, its own storylines, and not relax on the relatively weighty shoulders of names like Marvel, DC, and that movie with the elves? These were all questions that the Wiiu version of LEGO City Undercover tried to answer, and now we get this title coming back to us in a re-release on the Xbox One and PS4 and PC at $59.99. Now this will be available April 4th in the US and a couple days later everywhere else. Let's see how it does, shall we? As always, if you like the video, maybe subscribe. So here's my review for LEGO City Undercover. In a world starring Starsky McClane, Axel Foley, reduced power returns, and what it looks like to take Olympian levels of steroids. Graphics are up first. So yeah, a couple things are evident the moment you turn this on. This is a game many years in the remaking and was already out on the Wii U, which wasn't really known for its graphical prowess anyway, so I think most of us would expect or hope for a large increase in performance and at least resolution, and sadly we don't get much of that, but I'll get to that in a second. You know, Undercover is at its best when it just says, you know what, let them go out and do whatever they want. One moment you're James Bond Lego style, experiencing events moment to moment that are like other titles' climaxes, and the next you're shredding through stylized colored innards of playgrounds and pushcarts peddling questionable foodstuffs as pure anarchy explodes around you, because also while doing all this, you're playing in a world falling apart like it's made of tie-dyed cream wafers and hope. And of course, all that destruction really does help because it shines through with your terrassing through an incredibly large section of Lego Town, and it doesn't matter if you're channeling Steve Martin and John Candy as you hijack trains, planes, or automobiles, or if you're just running around the game world exploring different secrets. Undercover does have the ability to at times look damn good, and the feeling of narrative freedom unhindered with the virtual millennia of movie tie-ins and comic book special characters, the game actually at times can feel stunningly refreshing. Sadly, despite the song, not everything is awesome in LEGO City Undercover. First of all, even with the more powerful systems, the game's got a tendency to limp along like it's dragging the desiccated corpses of the titles before it. Below 30 frames is insane on an Xbox One or a PS4, but on the PS4 Pro as well, come on. And yes, you do see a bump in resolution as you go up the scale of consoles onto the PC, of course, but Jesus, the perceived improvements lag far behind the front and center falling apart that this game engine does from time to time while you're playing it. All in all, the game can look great, but it requires far more power than its appearance deserves, and there's this almost mysterious lack of logical improvements that one would expect. It would seem that with more power would actually come more return, but I guess that's why seems rhymes with dreams, because without effort, it's all friggin' fantasy. I guess I'd say as a package, ultimately, I really like the game world, I like the verticality, but I was not at all in love with its technical performances. Sound, music, and voice.
That's safe, Frank.
Of course it's...
Come on. You have to give the briefing. Wake up! The museum?
And of course, when it comes to audio, sound's always going to be up first, and this is actually pretty good as you're taking down thieves, chasing down bad guys, or dumping the helpless innards of an ambulance out at 80 miles an hour because you attempted to see if speed alone was required to fly. The end result is some pretty good sound and some surprisingly good separation when it actually matters. Just remember though, this is a LEGO game, which means a colorful and comedic tonal set for almost everything that's going to occur on the screen. But if there is one place that I have to absolutely give kudos to these guys for, it's that it excels in its environmental palette with this smooth continual blanket of undercurrent filled with folks talking far-off sirens, boat horns, and other large city sounds. It is far more difficult to make sure that ambient doesn't become aggressive, and the fact that Undercover pulls it off is a kudo to them and something other developers should look at. And of course that brings us to music. Now this is okay with an assortment of themes cribbing from Starsky and Hutch to old detective movies as you chase down the dangerous and elusive sandwich thief. Here we do have a soundtrack that understands it doesn't need to announce itself every second, and so for a great amount of time you do have it faded into nothingness. But that actually works in this game, and while the city's song is indeed in its environmental audio, as I said before, the themes and almost theme songs that some characters and locations have in this game are actually really good. I'd say in LEGO terms, pretty good music. And of course, that brings us to voice, and this is a highlight. It's not held to the real but not real, but please pretend they are real voice actors of the LEGO games that are connected to the other fictional universes, and there's this overriding feel of looseness here, from the mix of about 40 different hard on the outside but a hard to go cops that you play, to the plucky sidekicks, to the main baddie and his over-the-top delivery. All of it feels natural. You know, Undercover excels due to its presentation, and of course that lack of expected or perceived character traits that come through in voices when they're translated from another fiction. Here it's all natural. And I mean, it's nice to have a fake Robert Downey Jr. arguing with Thor over who has the nicest interchangeable head. But in the end, I think it's even better having this blank slate. And of course that brings us to gameplay and a bit about the story. You play as Chase McCain, return into town after a hiatus and find out that the big baddie is back, and it's your job to take him out. And what starts out as this typical Die Hard ripoff somehow randomly turns into James Bond, if of course James Bond could just fucking explode into blocks. Now, I have to say, the story kept me interested here and surprised me the whole way through, as it had no real problems dropping the characters into situations that they're not really accustomed to seeing in LEGO titles, and certainly did feel different than those other fictions. And I mean, yes, this is a LEGO game, but its relative open-endedness of it and the way in which it's all presented does make Undercover feel a little bit different than standard LEGO fare. Of course, what would a LEGO game be without more unlocks than most Mortal Kombat titles? And here you have them as well, as you unlock different things like main characters and of course vehicles and so forth as you continue to play the game. Almost instantly recognizable here, though, is a slightly easier difficulty curve. Now, that might bother some folks, as LEGO games aren't really known for being the Dark Souls, a colored block kind, but it's something that I figured I should bring up. There's just a lot of stuff to do here and such a large palette in which to do it that the game feels almost comfortable in its own skin, not presenting you with amazing location number 9 that was stolen from a movie production set, but doing so because it was created specifically for this game, and there's a cool feeling there. Also, while co-op was missing from the Wii U version, local co-op is here in spades, drop in and drop out, and I have to say, that is a massive improvement, as much of Undercover just feels more enjoyable romping through it with a friend. Overall, what is here is LEGO. Don't get me wrong, it's not like you're suddenly playing Lincoln Logs and everybody's going to wonder why the characters and toys changed. That's not the strength here. Its strength, as it was on the first release for the Wii U, and now here, is taking the universe's own world and fiction and making them as enjoyable as the larger big blockbuster set pieces and other titles in the series, and I really actually love that. And of course, that always brings us to fun factor. And yeah, for a lot of it, it is just a blast. It's simply reactive fun. And while I'd say LEGO games have long passed the state where they were just kids games, the fact remains that they are excellent, shallow fun, or easily more detailed enjoyment if you dive into special missions or decide to collect everything within the title. There's a lot of give and take for what you put into this and what you get out of it. On the other hand, I'm not going to lie, the technical issues did actually detract from the gameplay a multitude of times. So as you guys know, I rate games on a buy, wait for a sale, rent, or never touched again rating scale. This is actually a wait for a sale. There's twofold issues here. One is the cost. It is a full-priced game, $59.99 for a remake, which I know is going to rub everybody the wrong way. The second issue is the performance, coupled with the fact that while the game is as vast as any title prior, its relative lack of difficulty can actually make the game, at times, despite what's going on, feel a tiny bit uneventful. Now, of course, anybody with a PC can throw as much power as their wallet can stand at it to get those frame rates higher and get that performance better, but in the end, what you do have is a title that's full price, that is a remake, that, coming out of the gates, does have some issues. That doesn't stop it from being enjoyable, and it certainly doesn't stop it from being a load of fun at times, and it's a super long game, as all the LEGO games are. But in the end, there's no way I can say at full price this is worth buying right at this moment. So anyway, that's it for me. I hope you guys liked the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Maybe check out Twitter and Patreon. Of course, Patreon's how I continue to give you guys reviews that aren't 2 minutes long or filled with anything sponsored. As always, peace out and enjoy the rest of your week.